guys, welcome to Pilates with Hannah, and today I have a talk with Elena. So let's do it. Hi Elena, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so can you tell me how did you come to Pilates?
Yeah, so I started going to a gym that had Pilates there, and I've always liked it. I've been an athlete before, not professional. I wish I was professional because I love sports, but I've always been athletic, and I live in Hawaii. We play beach volleyball, and I surf, and I found that I need a lot of core strength for a lot of these things. And since I've always liked Pilates, and there was a studio right down the street from my house, I decided to start going, and I looked to see what the class schedule was like, and I saw that they had a teacher training, and I was like, wow, maybe this is it. I felt like it was a sign, you know. I was just looking to take a class, and they were literally starting teacher training that weekend. And so it was just, to me, it was just like a sign, you know, like I'm supposed to do this, I'm meant to do this. And I feel a lot of people come into Pilates that way. They're looking for something to strengthen themselves, and they're looking for something that's sometimes people are looking for something routine, and I feel like that was for me. It's you know, the classical way, you have the same movements, it's the same exercises, and you don't really stray from that. So for me, it was really nice to learn that way.
So you said that you used to surf and do a lot of sport. So how do Pilates help, surfing and stuff like that?
I will tell you one major thing for sure that surfing, that it helps with surfing. A lot of surfers have a really bad habit of poofing out their stomach when they surf, and I was guilty of this. You want to pull your chest up so that you can really, really paddle. But a lot of times when you do that, you actually push your stomach out, and you can actually cause a hernia that way. And so from doing Pilates, I've learned now to push my pelvis into the board and pull my belly in and lift my chest so that I'm not pushing my stomach out to give myself that lift. And that has made such a big difference in my surfing, because it's actually just Pilates in general has made a big difference, because it's really gotten my core much stronger, and I'm able to lift my chest up a little bit higher so I can really paddle and really see over the waves.
That's a really great tip. So which movement in Pilates that you think is really help with that, core strength?
Swimming really helps with that. All the neck roll really helps with that. Anything in Sphinx position, really, anything prone. Yeah, I feel like those are the best ones, swimming and neck roll.
Do you you've been joining the course already? So what do you think in swimming position? Can help people how do you do that to make it more right and in a right way?
Yeah, so for swimming specifically, I was actually guilty of this myself. A lot of people tend to swivel their hips when they're doing the movement because it's very easy to do it that way. So I've had to learn to really push my pelvis down into the ground, bring my belly toward my spine, and hold my pelvis while I move my legs. That's really what the key is for it. And that's not easy to do. It sounds easy, but you realize your pelvis moves a lot if you really are not focused on keeping it still.
Yeah, that's true. So you have joined a lot of class, physical class, and you also do a lot of online class when you travel. So what difference between that and what do you think people should do when?
I think a healthy mix is great. Obviously, when you travel, you're limited to what's available. But if you live in a small city, you may not even have a Pilates studio. But I do encourage people to go into a studio because you get that hands-on training and little things that you think you may be doing correctly. Even if you're looking in a mirror and you think you're doing it correctly, someone can just come over and tweak it for you a little bit, and that will make a huge difference to the practice for you. But I think it's always good to have somebody who knows and has experience to watch you and help you, and you also get different people. So that's right. Everyone has different practice and feels a different way about an exercise. So you may have someone who teaches one exercise really, really well, and somebody else that teaches another exercise really well.
Yeah, so when you do the online exercise, do you have any tips for people? They cannot really come to the physical classes.
Yeah, I feel definitely use someone reputable. If you find someone that you really, really like, maybe email them or like, comment on their channel and say like, hey, I'd love to talk to you. They'd probably be like happy to talk to you, and just like know their story. Like some of the places, I use a lot of Pilates Anytime and Pilates Online. So I know those people are classically trained and they've been training for a long time. So they evaluate their teachers, and not anyone can just post a video there. So those are two tools that I use. But I use other people as well when I'm online. I just look for good cueing, and I look to see what their story is, where they've been trained.
That's great. Thank you so much for great tips. Can you tell me about that you're gonna become a Pilates teacher soon, right?
Yeah, so I'm currently studying in Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm about 5 months into practicing, and when I get back home to Hawaii, I get to take my tests.
Oh, so how did you come to Pilates?
I started like going to a gym that offered lots of different group classes, and they had mat Pilates there.
Yeah.
And I'm not really big into yoga. I do like it. I do it. I practice, but I took the Pilates class because it sounded interesting. It sounded more like strength and just like full body commitment.
Yeah.
And so I was like really interested, and I started taking it there, and I really loved my instructor, and I just kept with it. And that's how I started. And then the gym that I was going to, I switched gyms, and I lived in New York City, so there was a lot of different studios. So I got to experience like a lot of different mat classes, a lot of different styles. But it wasn't until I moved to Hawaii last year that I was like, oh, I have time, and I really want to do this as part of my job and my life.
So is there anything that come to you that make you decide to become a Pilates teacher, or?
Yeah, I just really had the time. I was working full time before, and I sit at a desk all day. I'm a computer analyst, and so it's fun. I like it, but it's also, I love sports and I love being active. So I really I've always wanted to either be a personal trainer or work with people, like getting them active. And so when I looked around, I had the time, and I was like, oh, I'll just see, maybe someone's having a training, and it was just perfect timing. The studio that's right down the street from my house was having a training, so cool. I just joined.
So you're gonna stay in Hawaii after get a certification?
Yeah, so we start with mat, and then when I get back, they're supposed to be starting the reformer training, and so I'll start doing that when I get back. That's a much longer certification process.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's worth it, especially there in Hawaii. It's a very small community of people, so a lot of them like to do reformer, and mat is not as popular there.
Oh, so can you tell me about like how do you feel about Pilates reformer and Pilates mat? Like, what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, so I haven't done a lot of reformer.
Yeah.
So I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I really do like mat because it's all you. You have to really focus, you have to concentrate on the different parts of your body, and it's very simple. It's hard to do, but the movements themselves are simple. Yeah. And when you add reformer, I feel like there's like this level of like coordination that you have to have, and some people just aren't that coordinated, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to get the movements down. And I find that's for myself as well.
Yeah. And,
they tell me to do one thing, and I have to do something different with my arm, and I have to think a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also like very convenient because you can do it anywhere. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And so even like sometimes I just fold a yoga mat twice, and then it's enough cushion, but typically like the yoga mat's not enough, but you can get by if you stay away from more of the spine articulation stuff. Yeah.
So many people think that Pilates is just yoga.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So do you if you can tell, like if they ask you, then can you tell them something like how difference between yoga and Pilates that you think?
Yeah, so the first thing I tell people is that Pilates, there's no spiritual aspect to it. It's not a religious-based activity. It was created by a man who thought that we needed to correct our spines and our posture and our bodies. and he wasn't like, there's going to be any kind of enlightenment or attainment by doing Pilates. So that's the first thing I tell people. And the second thing I tell them is that while it does like work on flexibility and strength, yoga is mostly done standing up and Pilates mat is mostly done laying down. So that's like another big difference between the two. Those are pretty much the two things I tell people.
Yeah, that's why. So you talk a lot about the benefits of Pilates. So can you tell me like how Pilates benefit you in practice?
I can say that when I started doing it, I definitely got so much stronger in my core. My posture got better. I pretty much have always had good posture, but I could feel like I felt taller. I noticed when I was like really slouching.
Yeah, that's right.
And like my abs like got so much stronger when I started practicing regularly. So those have been some of the benefits for me, and I feel strong when I do it. Like I really enjoy it, and from where I started to where I am now, like I've seen my progression, and I've seen like I can do a lot more than the first day I tried to do many of these exercises. So I think it's really important to be able to see growth and progress in the things that you do. So that's one of the benefits that I've had as well.
Okay. So if you can give, like, for the people who start Pilates like a beginner, can you give them some advice?
I would say just keep practicing.
Yeah.
Everyone is in a different place in their practice, and it really helps to just continue with it. And everyone starts somewhere. Like there may be somebody who's more flexible than you, who may have a stronger core, but eventually you will get there too. And everybody has different bodies, so some bodies are better at some activities than other bodies.
Yeah.
And so you just find what works for you and you modify when you need to.
Totally agree. Okay. So do you have any favorite workout movement in Pilates that you?
I love teasers. I do, and I love control balance because I can't do it very well, and it's just one of the movements that I have to keep practicing. I think it looks really cool, but it's really difficult for me, so I like it because it's a real challenge.
It's a real challenge. It took me for a while until I can really make it. So, like, how do you get here in Vietnam?
So I wanted to travel. I had time in between work, and I decided I was going to go to Asia because that's where, since I live in Hawaii, it's a lot easier to get to.
Yeah.
And also it's like way more inexpensive than Europe or even South America. And so I had actually a round trip ticket to Bali, and when I realized I was going to have more time, I just decided to not go back. And so I had 3 months to travel, and so I decided to travel for these 3 months. And I just looked at, I did some research, and I looked at the top 20 countries or top 20 cities to visit in Southeast Asia, and I just made a list, and I just drew a little map of where I was going to go. And
so how long have you been in Asia?
Since Christmas Day.
So does the trip have anything with your Pilates practice?
I'm sorry?
Like, does the trip had anything to benefit your Pilates practice?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. It's been difficult to find studios. Like you type in yoga, you can find a million yoga studios.
That's right.
Pilates, it's so difficult, and so when I do find a studio, I make it my business to get there, because it's even been hard to practice on my own because a lot of places, even gyms, sometimes they don't have mats.
Yeah.
Even it's just the mat is the basic thing, but some places don't have it. They'll just have exercise bike or treadmill, and then they're like, this is a gym. So so it's actually been challenging for me. I've been watching a lot of online videos just to keep up with my practice, but it's just finding people that have studios and then going to the studios. It's really exciting because everyone's trained all over the world, and so to see how the exercises change or how someone teaches it differently, I think it's super important.
Oh, so you told me that you've been joining a lot of different class of Pilates. So can you tell me what kind of what the good thing that you find in a Pilates teacher that you're really looking for, or you help you to inform when you want to be a teacher, when you become a teacher?
I think cueing is super important. and just someone who's looking to make sure that your body is in the right position to prevent injury. I think that's like one of the most important things. And then for me, it's just like the way that they cue. If they speak too much or too little, it affects your workout. Especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like, because I know the movements, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but if you don't know, I think that's like one of the most important things, and I look for that in an instructor.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So that's really fun to talk to you today, and thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.